This is Jimmy Burns from Malvern, Ohio, and you're listening to BBQ Central. This is Jimmy Burns from Malvern, Ohio, and you're listening to BBQ Central.
Start the game! Let's go!
We'll do it live. Okay. Well, do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
So to get that perfect barbecue, you use wood. Are you sure it's safe? Whatever. We put the lighter fluid on, strike the match, and... Oh! Should we call the fire department? That might be a good idea.
Good evening, and welcome to the Really Big Barbecue Central Show. This is a show that talks about all things important in the world of barbecue and grilling. Originating from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame city of Cleveland, Ohio. The barbecue and social distancing capitals of the North Coast. I finally did it! It only took 3 weeks to get that done, but I did it. God damn it, I'm a professional. Anyway, I'm your program host, Greg Rempe. Happy to have you aboard here on your Tuesday evening. If you want to jump in on the show tonight, happy to do that.
You can get in touch with the show by calling 216-220-0966. Email Greg at the BBQCentralShow.com. On the Twitter and Instagrams at BBQ Central Show.
Anything else you want to find out about the show? Can be found at the main website, thebbqcentralshow.com. And here's what's happening. Coming up in about 11 to 12 minutes from now, it's the second Tuesday in the month of May. The second Tuesday brings a visit from the creator of AmazingRibs.com, Meathead. And we have a specific topic to get into it with. We will maybe talk about something called vinaigrette. We will definitely start the conversation by going over their most recent grill review that has been released on the Masterbuilt Gravity Fed. We've talked with Derek Riches on that, but Amazing Ribs, widely known for their in-depth and unbiased reviews of grills that are hitting the market, and they've just recently released their take on the Masterbuilt, so I want to talk to Meathead about that. I know they're pretty high on it. I want to give my own 2 cents, even though I have never touched one, nor seen one, nor cooked on one. But I will always love to play devil's advocate. So Meathead coming up in about 12 minutes from now. But only one segment for Meathead. What could possibly be important enough to usurp Meathead's second segment and or the whole first hour? Well, I'm glad you asked. We are in a unprecedented time, or if you listen to any type of commercial, trying time. Caring time, unprecedented time, times of disaster, whatever the latest times are. Well, last week and part of this week, and depending on where you're at in the country, you've been beginning to see some semblance or some emergence of a reopening of whatever state you're living in, whatever city you're living in, whatever county you're living in. And it can be as... It can diverge from those particular areas. It can diverge from one county to the next, from one city to the next, one state to the next. Of course, being redundant. Part of what we have been missing here, if you're a fan of this show, is anything that has to do with competition. Memphis in May is out. A lot of the competitions over the past month or two, out. A lot of the foreseeable competitions, certainly in jeopardy, if not already marked off the bill altogether for 2020 or postponed till much later than when they were supposed to transpire originally on the calendar. However, my next, or in the 35 past the first hour segment, those two guests participated in, and or otherwise attended a steak cook-off event that took place in Lehi, Utah. They are the creators of the Pitmasters Podcast, also the co-hosts, I'll be talking with first-timer show Anthony and Rusty. And I can't wait to talk to them and see how that whole thing went down. Believe it or not, if you look on the SCA docket, there were supposed to be 3 competitions that came off this past weekend. I have confirmation that 2 did, a Texas one, this one in Utah, because I saw the actual awards being streamed live by the guys from Pitmasters Podcast. So, and there was also supposed to be one in Alabama, I think. But I have no way of knowing if indeed that one actually took place or not. Haven't seen that, but there were supposed to be 3. I think this coming weekend was empty, but the following weekend had a number of competitions as well. So this past weekend in Utah, there was a state competition. I want to talk to these guys, feel how was it attended, what were the whole insight. I want to see how that whole thing went down. Then we'll move to the second hour. If you watched the live show on Wednesday, you'll know we exclusively announced the 9 semifinalists for the 2020 Barbecue Hall of Fame potential class. 3 make it of the 9. And I have formed a most distinguished panel to go over the 9, what they bring to the table, why they might be considered as worthy enough to make it to the semifinalists, potentially being the final 3 to get in. That, of course, and all 3, by the way, on the nominating committee there at the Barbecue Hall of Fame vis-a-vis the American Royal Association. Adrian Miller, Daniel Vaughn, Ray Lampe will all be joining. One's a Hall of Famer already. So we have plenty to talk about in the second hour. Always welcoming your comments and feedback. Greg at thebbqcentralshow.com. You can also call in 216-220-0966. Don't forget, you can follow me socially everywhere at BBQ Central Show on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and TikTok. I'm sorry, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Snapchat / BBQ Central Show on Facebook. Excuse me. Let me lead with this tonight. And quite frankly, I'm pissed. This past Wednesday, as I just mentioned, I did a live show with Emily Park from the American Royal Association. She's the manager of the World Series of Barbecue. That's her title. And we announced live the 9 semifinalists for this year's Hall of Fame class. And we did it live, okay?
We'll do it live.
Right, Bill. We did it live. As in not taped, not pre-recorded, or any other bullshit gimmick. And in the YouTube chat, someone questions if the show is a live production. Indeed, it's live.
We'll do it live. Okay.
Right. I spent a week promoting the exclusive live show.
We'll do it live. Okay. Well, do it.
Which was going to be done live. Why in the sweet fuck would I then do a taped show? My whole deal is live.
We'll do it live. Okay.
We do it live.
Do it live.
Do it live.
I'll write it and we'll do it live.
Going forward, if I tell you and promote and put myself out there that the show's going to be live, if it's not on a Tuesday between 9 and 11 p.m. Eastern, rest assured that whatever day the other show is airing, if I say it's live, it's live.
We'll do it live. Okay.
It would take an extraordinary bag to promote a live show only to have it in the can to throw up because it was taped. Do I have baggy tendencies? Sure. It's what endears me to the audience, but I'm not a total bag, and that is what a total bag would do. By the way, I have a show programming note. May 27th, a Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern, same as this past Wednesday, by the way, I will be doing another live show with the American Royal where we will be announcing live.
We'll do it live. Okay.
The 2020 Barbecue Hall of Fame class. And it will be done live.
We'll do it live. Okay.
Remember, I'm a trendsetter, not a follower, not someone who mails it in. We do exclusive live shit right here on this show, and we do it live.
We'll do it live. Okay. Well,
not
do it
just
live.
sometimes on Tuesdays.
And we'll do it live.
To summarize, if I'm promoting a live show in advance, and the day comes for a live show.
We'll do it live.
And during the live show, I tell you we're doing a special live show.
We'll do it live.
You can trust me when I tell you that we are doing it live.
We'll do it live. Do it live.
Trust me on that.
I'll write it and we'll do it live.
There is just no reason that I'm going to spend all the time and energy and effort to say it's a live show. I mean, everybody does taped. Anybody can do it. Everybody can do it. It takes a certain kind of animal to sit there and promo live and then do a live show, which is exactly what we did on Wednesday.
Talking to my friend.
That's right. I'm talking to my friends, too. We got Meathead in the green room, for crying out loud. Meathead will be joining me live, okay?
We'll do it live.
Meathead will be doing it live. Meathead, just so you know, we're not on the right camera. I don't know if you want to try and fix that. Before we get to Meathead, I will talk to you quickly about the Barbecue Guru. You know, the Barbecue Guru has always believed that outdoor cooking can be easy and fun because you know what? It should be. The Monolith is the world's first temperature-controlled smoker with a built-in power draft fan. This means smarter control and greater freedom with automatic temperature control devices. Easily choose your cooking time and temperature and let the Monolith do the work of a sous chef or a barbecue pitmaster. With minimal effort, you now have oven-like precision at the grill. You can serve the tastiest, juiciest meals each and every time. And by the way, if I didn't mention or you didn't know, because I know I've mentioned it because I've had Bob on the show here recently, they have two brand new controllers coming out, the DynaQ and the Ultra Q. The DynaQ replacing the previous Party Q. The Ultra Q is replacing the CyberQ Cloud, I believe. So new technology replacing a couple older models, always trying to push the envelope and keep the technology fresh. Make sure you hit up the website, take a look at all the products. If you have any questions, call them. 800-288-GURU. That's 800-288-GURU. And again, the website, bbqguru.com. That's bbqguru.com. Then they have a great amount of accessories as well. If you have a ceramic cooker, they sell one, but if you also have one like an Egg or a Primo or a Kamado Joe, rib space primarily is at a premium. You can get a rib ring here and do 6 slabs of St. Louis style ribs, easily doubling your rib capacity. Just go ahead and check it out. Trust me here. bbqguru.com, the website, 800-288-GURU. That's 800-288-GURU, the website. And we will return with Meathead from AmazingRibs.com. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Broadcasting live from the Barbecue Central Show studios in Cleveland, Ohio. You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
Welcome back. This portion of the show is being brought to you by Butcher Barbecue, makers of award-winning injections, marinades, rubs, and seasonings, barbecue sauces, and grilling oils. All of Butcher Barbecue products have been tested on the competition circuit as well as backyards worldwide. Be the pitmaster of your neighborhood and visit butcherbbq.com to stock up right now. Always trust your butcher. It is the second Tuesday of the month, and you know what that means. A visit from the creator of the most heavily trafficked barbecue and grilling website on the face of the earth, Meathead from AmazingRibs.com. Hey, Meathead, how are you?
Hello, Greg. How you doing?
I'm absolutely fabulous. Appreciate you making time for the show, as always. And we look forward to these monthly Meathead chats. Maybe I'm looking forward to it the most, but, you know, this is my special time with Meathead.
So, are we live?
We'll do it live.
Tonight we're live.
Do it live.
Why not?
I'll
Oh,
write
you
it and
mean
we'll
we're
do
not
it live.
recording this?
We are not recording it this month, although we've been doing it for years on end, and I have finally been snuffed out as being the guy that tapes records his shows. So in any event, yes, we're live tonight, so I appreciate you making the effort doing it live here with me.
You know, I've been watching this ESPN series, The Last Dance,
Yes.
and how Michael Jordan used the least provocation to aggravate him and elevate him. You know, some guy picked his nose, and Michael Jordan used that as motivation to trample the enemy.
Right.
You and he have that in common. One guy on YouTube says, "Is this live?" And you go off. Good for you.
But
you take pride in what you do.
the point of
You
the
are
matter.
competitive.
Yes, of course. But the point of the matter is, you know, if I hadn't done any type of promotion or saying, you know, in 2 weeks from now, in a week from now, in 3 days from now, special live event, I did it on and on here on this show. And then to be questioned during the live event that I had then promoted for like 3 weeks was outrageous. So, you know, I'm going to come here on the show and talk about it.
Well, you know, it is shocking that people on social media are not in touch with reality.
The
Yeah,
ears
right.
are on with whatever they want to hear, and if they don't want to hear it, the ears are immediately off. That's what I've come to find out anymore. There's no doubt. All right, Meathead. So we have plenty to talk about here this evening, and we'll get to the Hall of Fame short list of 9 here in just a second. But I wanted to start off with a little product talk. That, of course, being the Master-Built Gravity-Fed Cooker. And as I talked about in the beginning of the show, I've had Derek Riches on here a couple different times, and he's talked about it, but he hasn't really cooked on it per se, though he's offered up some opinions. I've actually had the owners of Master-Built on 2 months ago or so at this point.
Yes.
And maybe it even hasn't been that. But you have had, I guess, what some would call substantial testing done with some of your most trusted folks on the staff there at AmazingRibs.com. So how are you finding, or how are they finding the Master-Built? Because I think, in a long-winded way to get to your answer here, this has the potential of really changing a few different facets of how we view the live fire industry at the moment.
Yeah, it's a pretty smart, pretty clever, pretty revolutionary device with a few small glitches and flaws, but not enough to prevent it from getting our top ratings. You know, what's really interesting is years ago, and your guests may know Max by name, we hired Max Good as a full-time grill and smoker tester. And as a result, everybody sends us product to review and test. And it's more than Max can handle. He's very thorough, very complete, really works hard. And of course, this sometimes causes issues, as we know, over the Weber smoke fire, because people who got it within a week were out there opining one way or the other, and mostly the other, whereas it took Max 3 weeks to really deep dive into it and what was what were the problems and so on. So in any case, this is a device that people have been really interested in. I don't think a week goes by without 2 or 3 people asking us, have you tested it? And Max has started deputizing other members of our team to test. And Husky, who runs our Pitmaster Club, who's a really talented cook. He's a stick burner mostly.
Yeah.
He tested a Gorilla pellet smoker, first pellet smoker I ever tested. And now he tested this device, and he loves it. And for a stick burner to fall in love with a gravity feed charcoal device is something else altogether. His review is extraordinarily thorough and detailed. Just go to AmazingRibs.com, and there's a search filter on the desktop. It's on your left, on mobile devices at the bottom. But you click on ratings and reviews, then click on grills and smokers. Hopefully you find the search box, find Master-Built, He gave it a platinum medal, which is our top award.
Wow.
He's got some minor issues about the build quality. Every single damn device we've tested that uses Bluetooth, we loathe Bluetooth, but we've learned to live with it. Can't wait until there's a replacement for it. Bluetooth. Anybody who's worked with Bluetooth knows. It's on again, off again, unreliable.
Isn't the fix
Pardon?
putting it on? Isn't the fix putting it on the local area network or having Wi-Fi connectivity?
Well, some devices you can go Bluetooth to Wi-Fi. Some you can't. It's just that whenever you see the word Bluetooth, you're gonna have some issues.
Yes.
But he got over them, and I didn't test it. I haven't touched it. So I'm not qualified to give you a first-hand opinion. I'm just relating to you what I read when I read Husky's review, which is really quite thorough. And it seems to me, as his editor, that he did the job properly. And he likes it. And I would think that, as you intimated, this is a device that shakes up the horizon there. We have had thermostat controllers for charcoal grills. I mean, it started with Barbecue Guru. They were the pioneers. They came up with a blower controller. Remember, charcoal is the fuel, and it needs oxygen. And those two things work together. And you can cool charcoal down by removing oxygen or starving it of oxygen. It also affects the smoke and other things, but basically by reading the temperature in the cooking chamber and reducing the oxygen or increasing the oxygen, you can control the temperature. A thermostat controller, much like you have in your indoor oven. Or following that came the pellet smokers, which also use a feedback system with a probe in the cooking chamber, and it turns on and off the fan and the amount of pellets. So we have, you can control charcoal devices and pellet devices with some sort of thermostat, but this is the first one that, the Stubbs and a couple others have some gravity feeders, but this is a unique tool. It's like a pellet smoker, only it's charcoal. It's got this big, tall tube that you pour the charcoal in, and you light the charcoal, and it controls the oxygen, and that controls the temperature. And most remarkably, different from most pellet cookers, it can get really hot and sear a steak properly. Most pellet cookers cannot. And I know that people out there are going, "Arr, arr, 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 arr," and we get into debates over this. But in my world, a properly seared steak is mahogany colored edge to edge. It doesn't have grill marks. It doesn't have little gray areas in between the grill marks. It's Maillard reaction edge to edge. And this device can do that. Pellet cookers cannot, most of them. So if others imitate it, if others improve upon it, we could be looking at a new branch in the charcoal grill and smoker tree.
Do you think that Masterbuilt is a company that folks would copy off of?
Well, people imitate, copy all the time. I mean, Barbecue Guru, I mentioned them. They came up with the first thermostat controller. There's a dozen at least out there now using the same concepts. I mean, you got to walk a careful line so that you don't violate their trademarks and copyrights, their technology, but usually there's enough room to fudge around the edges. And yeah, imitation is the greatest form of flattery. I'm certain I would guess that this device, because it works and it's clever and it does both smoking and grilling, which is the holy grail.
Yeah. And the price point is hard to deny. I mean, it's really affordable for both sides of what you get.
Well, it lists for around 500, but I've been seeing on social media that people are telling me that it's actually selling for 650 or more. Usually it's the other way around.
Yep.
Usually you see the MSRP, the recommended retail, and they actually sell for less.
Yep.
But apparently the current environment of supply and demand, supply chain issues, and so on, has jacked the price up on this baby.
All right, so if you want to read the full review, as Meathead said, it is in-depth by one of his moderators, so make sure you go check it out over at AmazingRibs.com. The other thing that we want to talk about here tonight, Meathead, of course, and we'll talk about it at length in the second hour with my esteemed nomination panel, is that the Wednesday, when I did a live show.
We'll do it live. Okay.
We talked about we revealed who the 9 semifinalists are for this year's Hall of Fame, or potentially this year's Hall of Fame. So 9 are on this semifinalist, 3 of which will make up the class of the 2020 Barbecue Hall of Fame. And there were a small handful of repeat names from that list. Now, in year 147, I do not make the list in a row. However, my pal Meathead, for the second year in the row, makes the semifinal list. So
you can call me Susan Lucci.
Well, not yet. I mean, you got 9 more at least to go before we can call you Susan Lucci. Well, so here's the thing. I think getting I'm speaking for you, by the way, so as soon as I turn it over to you, you can tell me how wrong or right I am. The first year, it's probably great. Maybe it's a surprise. I don't know. And it's great to be nominated, but then you don't get it. Well, second year, you're right back. To be honest, I thought it was probably not that great of a shot for you to get right back on the list. Same thing goes for Desiree Robinson, and same thing goes for Aaron Franklin, by the way. I wasn't just saying that because it was you. I thought that the 3 that made it back on, I didn't think that there was that good of a shot that they would immediately return back. You have to earn your way back onto that list. You're not just carried back over from year to year. So to me, this year, while it was probably great to be mentioned last year, I think Meathead has some real legs in getting into this Barbecue Hall of Fame this year, making it through another round of discussion, having a year of qualification on your belt. And certainly you look up and down the other list. I mean, it's certainly a heavy hitters list. But, man, I feel withstanding all of that, Meathead, I think Meathead's going in. I'm putting all of my $200 on Meathead Gold. I would be very surprised.
Well, that's just because I told you if I get in, I'm going to make sure you get in.
That's 100% right, by the way. Yes, that's right. No doubt.
I am flattered you think so. It is a good list. I mean, without question, Desiree Robinson belongs in there. For your listeners who don't know, she runs Cozy Corner in Memphis, has for many, many years. Small family operation, most famous for their Cornish game hens. The last time I was in there was a 13-year-old boy in a bow tie and a pressed white shirt working the counter, all family. She's a beautiful, gracious woman. They used at that time a Chicago-style aquarium pit, which I'm not going to get into details, but it's an unusual smoker design. If you go to our website and search for aquarium pit, you'll see. It's just a class operation, and it's a family operation. They've been there for years, and nobody has anything bad to say about it. And she was there. There's several others who clearly belong in there. I think I have a chance. I think if I were voting, I would be the number 4 choice.
Well, let me quickly review the list for the folks that don't know. You have Oklahoma Joe Davidson, who was part of Oklahoma Joe's, the restaurant in Kansas City before him and Staney split. But then he went on to do Oklahoma Joe's and Smokers. Yeah, Bill Arnold with Blues Hog. I mean, you think competition barbecue, I think everybody thinks about Blues Hog as soon as you think of competition barbecue.
And everybody, there are 50 imitations of Blues Hog on the
easily
in bottles. And even I have a recipe called Jazz Hog, which is an attempt at an imitation. So it's a concept, a formulation, a flavor profile, really different than your classic Casey Masterpiece or Kraft, your standard red barbecue sauce. And it's really popular on the internet. And that's how Bill Arnold made his fame and name. He's nominated.
Then you have the triad that are returning. You have Aaron Franklin, no real description needed. Desiree Robinson, as you just informed us. Then you have Meathead from AmazingRibs.com. And then other first-timers, you have John Marcus, who, I mean, if you've ever watched a second of barbecue television, you know who John Marcus is because he's the one that's pretty much brought every famed barbecue TV show.
On your show.
Yes, he's been on the show a number of times.
And John is just an erudite, intellectually unique. He's a playwright. He won an Emmy as a writer for the Bill Cosby Show.
Right.
He created barbecue television with Barbecue Pitmasters years ago. Did several seasons of it. He himself has numerous smokers and grills, which he hauls around for charity events all the time.
Yep.
A real mensch.
Rodney Scott from Rodney Scott Barbecue, obviously one of the whole hog and Carolina barbecue masters. And then you have Darren Worth from Iowa Smoky D's. So he is both
Let me say a word about Darren.
Yep.
Let me say a word about Darren.
Yep.
Darren lives in Iowa. I'm in the Chicago area. There's a competition not far from my home, which he comes to every year. It's probably not going to survive this crisis. It was in trouble to begin with. But I went down there, and I don't care to judge much anymore. I don't like sitting in a tent and tasting. But I wander around, and I know a lot of these competitors, and I've learned to like Darren's food, and he was winning, and he and his wife Sherry and I hit it off, and I would go to this event and just hang out, and he let me watch him cook. So I learned an awful lot about how top-notch competition cooks cook. He's won Team of the Year at least once, maybe 2, 3, 4, I don't know how many times. But I'm here to tell you, I taste a lot of barbecue. Everything he cooks is my benchmark. Mm-hmm. His ribs are just knee-buckling spectacular. His brisket, his pulled pork. I mean, I don't get excited about pulled pork anymore. How the hell do you get excited about pulled pork? Right. His is just spectacular. Everything he does is spectacular. He's just a brilliant cook.
And then rounding out that list, Leanne Whippen, who has been on the scene for decades at this point. Originally with Wood Chicks, had the restaurant catering business, opened up a restaurant in Chicago there for a while. Has since moved into some other barbecue restaurant down in the Florida area. TV a bunch of times.
I think she's in the St. Pete area now.
Yeah, I think her and Dr. Barbecue were like 2 blocks from each other. Yeah, I mean, they're very close. So that rounds out the top 9. So, all right, Meathead, let's be honest as we come to a close here in this abridged version of Meathead here on the second Tuesday. Your personal thought, chances of getting into this year's Barbecue Hall of Fame percentage, what do you got?
I'm the number 4 choice.
What? Come on, Meathead. Give me some balls.
No, I think there are 3 people who are likely to get in ahead of me. If I get in, I will be delighted and surprised. I would really like to get in. And the main reason I want to get in is I am tired of arguing with people on Facebook and YouTube and the Twitter. And when they start arguing with me, I just want to be able to say, dude, when you're in the Hall of Fame, I'll listen to you. Next. That's the main. I just want to be able to pull rank up.
Wait a second. You want to be able to drop the Barbecue Hall of Fame hammer on Twitter trolls?
Damn right. I want to pull. I am tired of arguing with these schmageggies.
Oh my. All right. Well,
I want that moniker after my name. It would be a great honor. It would be a recognition of a hard work, a hard lifetime of work. I mean, I will make the case that nobody, with the possible exception of Hall of Famer Steve Rakeman, has done more to educate America on barbecue. We average
undoubtedly
15 million people a year, 3 million page views a month, 4,000 pages of information. That's a dozen books on AmazingRibs.com on recipes, technique, product reviews. My book is closing in on 200,000 copies. It's been pretty widely praised. Southern Living magazine called them one of the 100 best cookbooks, not barbecue books, I've ever written. We've had some influence. And I say we, because, I'm the founder and I'm the guiding light, but I've got a really excellent team of smart people around me. You know, it's a great business tenet. Hire people smarter than you.
Yes.
We've managed to do that. Can I have I got enough time to tell people about something fun?
In like 2 seconds.
Okay. Launching next week. We have launched a new website and a new email newsletter. I don't think I've told you about this, so this is a scoop for you. Called digestthis.news. The site is live now. The email goes out for the first time on the 19th. We read as a regular habit everything we can find on barbecue, on food, on meat, on farming, on meat processing, everything from farm to fork. And we read about, between the three or four of us, at least 50 different publications, farming publications, manufacturing. And there's just so much information, particularly in this era, that we've launched a newsletter. It's called Digest This, and it's a digest. Dave Joachim, who's the editor of AmazingRibs.com, is compiling a newsletter of the most important stories impacting the world of food, not just barbecue, because we love all manner of food, not just barbecue. It's coming. It's going to come out every Tuesday, starting this Tuesday. And if you want to subscribe, go to digestthis.news. You'll see an example of the kind of work we're doing. We link to the source material. And if you want the big picture of what's going on in the restaurant world, what's going on in the agricultural world, what's going on in the manufacturing world, and the book world, it's all there. And it starts Tuesday, and we don't expect to make a nickel on it. In fact, I'm probably going to take a loss on it, but it's a service that I think the world needs right now.
All right, you can check out digestthis.news. Go ahead and sign up for that very quickly. And we're talking with Meathead, who can be found here on the second Tuesday of each and every month. Meathead, always appreciate the time.
And that's an exclusive for you.
Thank you, my friend. I always love the exclusives. There's Meathead right there. That's right, from AmazingRibs.com. And let me make this transition quickly. Tell me, Meathead, one segment tonight. F you, I'm going as long as I want. Okay, Meathead, you go. Roll on out, that's fine. Luckily, I have Anthony and Rusty in the green room. We'll be getting to them here in just 1 second. Let me talk to you quickly about Green Mountain Grills. Some of the best pellet cookers out there on the market today. 2 lines to choose from that they offer. A choice line, which was their original version. And now that is so the sizes are the same. Jim Bowie, Daniel Boone for either line, the choice or the prime. The choice line, no tech, right? So you don't get the Wi-Fi, the internal meat probe, stuff like that. But you still get a great cooker. It still holds a lot of meat depending on which one you get. They both accommodate the pizza oven insert, which you need to get regardless of what line that you choose. Then they have the Prime line, so you have a little bit more of a sturdier build on the chassis. You have peak-in windows on the main cooking chamber and on the pellet hopper, 2 internal meat probes, and now the Wi-Fi technology. So for a little bit more money, you get a little bit better of a build and cooker. But in the end, if you want to save some bucks, it's still a great cooker no matter what. I have a couple choice lines or choice cookers on my deck at the moment. Anyway, and again, pizza oven insert if you get them, no matter choice or prime. They sell through dealers, so go to the website, find a dealer near you, then hook up with a dealer, let them teach you about the Green Mountain grills, and away you go. They also have pellets and rubs and sauces and accessories, all the fun stuff. GreenMountainGrills.com. That's GreenMountainGrills.com. Hook up today. And we are back with the guys that create the Pitmasters Podcast. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Howard Stern, Jim Rome, Dan Patrick, and Greg Rempe. The Mountain Rushmore of talk show entertainment. Now, let's get back to the Barbecue Central Show.
And this portion of the show being brought to you by CookinPellets.com, your number one source for quality wood pellets for all your pellet-driven cookers. Visit CookinPellets.com for more information or to purchase. You can also buy from Amazon.com if you want. Totally up to you. Or CookinPellets.com. Either way, you get great pellets. I use Cookin' Pellets. My next guests tonight have their own burgeoning barbecue podcast called the Pitmasters Podcast, which releases new episodes each week. So subscribe to their show on your podcast platforms and catch-alls as the country starts to reopen in various forms and fashions. One of the items on everyone's mind is cooking competitions, regardless of how they look. Well, the SEA had an event this past weekend in, I think, Lehi, Utah, and the two dudes were right there taking part. Here to recap it from a variety of viewpoints are the hosts of the Pitmasters Podcast and first-timers here to this show. I am welcoming in... I got to turn your audio on. Sorry, guys. Oh, man. Totally lame. Sorry, guys. I am talking with Anthony, Luhan, and Rusty Monson. Did I get the last names right, boys?
It's Luhan.
Luhan. God damn it.
Yeah.
You got Monson, though. That works.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I try. So 50-50, I'll take it. Not too bad today. All right, guys. So before we get into the SCA stuff this past weekend, can you give me a quick background on your ventures into live fire? And we'll start with Anthony Luhan first.
Yeah, man. It all started like most of us at my age is the Barbecue Pitmasters TV show. We all wanted to learn how to be like those guys and jump into the competition scene. I kind of was just a backyard guy for a while. Came across a local barbecue joint that had a competition class. Took it. A month later at the Lehigh Barbecue pit stop, they had a backyard competition. Jumped in, won some awards. Hook, line, sinker, man. Done. You know, I really enjoyed this competition scene. New to the SEA. Enjoying it a ton. And obviously, this venture has taken me on to meet Rusty Monson, and we started a podcast together, and we're here today with you.
So you guys weren't like chums prior to getting in, and you didn't live down the street or go to high school or anything like that together. You met on the competition circuit.
Yep.
Wow. All right, Rusty, what's your story?
Ago.
Well, I grew up with a hunting family, so of course the best way to cook any kind of deer or elk is to smoke it. So, you know, I grew up around it. I grew up grilling steaks. My dad and my grandfather used to go around hawking smoked chickens to bars, and it was my favorite thing, and it just stuck with me. And I actually was pulling through Mesquite, Nevada when the very first episode of Pitmasters, which would be the very first Masters, started happening. Mm-hmm. And man, it just planted a seed in my brain. And so, gosh, 8 years later, I'm sitting here with nothing to do. And I'm thinking, you know, that I got to get into that, man. I do this at home. I want to jump into the pit, you know, the competition side of stuff. And I just hit it first and went and took a whole bunch of classes, and I've been doing it since. And yeah, and then met Anthony on the road doing that stuff. And he texted me one day. He's like, "Hey, we should start a podcast." I'm like, you know, I was thinking about that, and I think we should. And man, next week we're up and running. So, and you know, we had to thank you for being a huge influence on us because I was a big fan of yours when I first got into this. It was the very first show I started listening to, and I still listen to it all the time. So you were a big influence on us, and thank you for that.
All right.
So, yeah,
well, I'll always take the props, no doubt about it. That's why I like Rusty the best for now. All right. So well, look, Rusty, let me go back to you. We'll come back to you, Anthony, just to get when you're in a normal competition season, how many events are you looking to get under your belt during the course of a year, Rusty?
I like to keep it around 20. That's pretty manageable for me. I wouldn't mind going a little further. This year, obviously, we're not going to do as much. I do plan on traveling a lot in the end. I'm going to make that up. We're going to do at least 15. That's the goal. Now, whether or not we can is a whole other story, but that's the goal, is hopefully get 15. I don't want to go past 20, because, man, just doing 15 is hard, so doing, and then SCA events in the meantime and doing all that stuff and the podcast and stuff takes a lot of time. So 20 is about the sweet spot for me.
All right, Anthony, in a normal season or, outside of where we're at currently, how many events do you like to get in?
As many as I can try to beat Rusty. So wherever Rusty's going, I'm going to try to tail with him. That's within, I guess, our bordering states.
So that's 0.
I don't know, man.
So will you guys sit there and coordinate? Here's where I'm going to go. Where do you look at, or do you guys put together your own independent schedules and then compare, contrast, and make adjustments?
Definitely independent schedules. I'm mostly staying within my bordering states. Rusty is looking to travel beyond into other regions, so he's going to put in a few more miles than I am for sure.
All right.
Yeah, we're going all over, so we'll go wherever we can.
Like, would you go to Florida?
Hell yeah, I go to Florida.
Oh, all right.
I go to Florida all day.
I'm just trying to get an idea of miles that you're ready to do. I mean, like, to me, 4 hours is, is a far way to go. But, barbecue guys, 4 hours is like a backyard contest. So,
exactly.
True. Very true.
We're talking with Anthony Luhan and Rusty Monson from the Pitmasters Podcast. Go ahead and shout out your team names because you're both independent team names. Go ahead, Rusty.
So we're Salt City Barbecue. We're out of Utah. That's our team name.
All right, Salt City Barbecue. Anthony?
Smoke Ain't No Joke Barbecue out of Salt Lake City, Utah.
All right, like that name. Very good. So obviously it sucks now because coronavirus has shut down competitions, barbecue or otherwise, for the past few months. However, it seems in some places the reopening has begun, and for the State Cook-Off Association, that was in 3 different places this past weekend: Utah, Texas, Alabama. Anthony, you were you guys both signed up for this competition well in advance, or did you just happen to see that this is something that was rolling up for this weekend that hadn't been canceled, and you're like, damn, last minute, we're just going to roll up here and see what happens?
Well, it was scheduled, and then there was just a location change, but at the last minute, about 10 days before the comp. So it was always on the line of possibly getting canceled. So, but they pulled it together and made it happen.
All right, Rusty, break it down for me. And I'm certainly not looking to get political here or anything like that. I'm merely asking for personal opinion and feelings. When the event is confirmed to happen, how did the SEA inform the contestants about how that weekend was going to set up?
So we went through the promoters, Barbecue Pit Stop here locally, and Steve and Terrell, they're running the show. They went through on Facebook in different groups, if you were to sign up, and gave you kind of the rules, the breakdown, how it's going to happen, what you need to do to turn in. So you have to wear masks, you have to have gloves, or they won't accept your box, and just rules like that. So they broke it down for everyone, what you have to do before you get there. And then when they got there, we had a meeting, and we had to have the meeting in our tents. So everyone had to stay put. And they got on a big speaker and explained those rules again. And then you had to go up and sit 6 feet apart, or not, stand 6 feet apart to do your state cook. All of the judges had gloves. All the judges had masks. I think they did a really good job of keeping it where it needed to be. Now, unfortunately, you get like a group of people together that haven't seen each other. And we're a family out there. SCA, sure. KCBS, anything. Yep. So we haven't seen each other in so long. Everyone wants to chat. So it was hard. They kept on yelling at us like 6 feet, 6 feet. And it wasn't always possible to do. But I think the event, Brett was there. They gave it all they could to make sure that it was 6 feet apart, social distancing. Everyone had the proper protection on, as far as the masks go. And I think they did a really good job with it. And I think it was hard to corral everyone. And then there was a lot of people kind of breaking the rules, but then they were also really good about jumping on those people too. So, I mean, I'm one of them. You don't think about it. You're like, hey, what's up? Oh, wait, crap. Okay, never mind. I'll talk to you.
But isn't that like isn't that the potential problem? I mean, nothing against the want to get out there, but I mean, just to your point, you've been cooped up. You're going to get around some folks that you haven't seen in a while, and you're doing something you want to do, and all of a sudden you start feeling it. I mean, it's just human nature to want to just start going over and palling around, but that's potentially where you could have some issues. You don't know where the fuck these people have been for the last 2 months. I mean, everybody wants to assume everybody's been taking proper measures, but some people, seem to think that, F it, I don't care, I'm going to do whatever I want. And so now you have varying people around varying other people. Anthony, what were your thoughts on the whole situation?
Oh, well, I'm in the same boat as Rusty. They attacked it best they possibly could. Herding the sheep was a little bit difficult, but with the herd, we all had our gloves on. We all had our masks on. Our tents were spaced out 6 feet apart. Whenever you had to go inside to use the restroom, they had a big old sign on the door that says, as soon as you enter, hand sanitize, use your restroom. There's hand sanitizer there. They only had a certain amount of people allowed inside the store, which was the restroom. They did a really good job, minus the steak selection, which it wasn't the organizer's fault. It was us competitors that were excited. Hey, check out my steak's better than yours. And we kind of intermingled. And that was the only issue that I really had with the whole thing. Everything else was organized. It was just that 10 minutes of exposure with each other picking steaks. So it was kind of it was kind
hard.
of our fault.
Yeah, we're creatures of instinct. I'm like, well, I'm a I like to give high fives and hugs when appropriate. And you just kind of jump into that role, and you don't even think about it. And you're like, oh crap, I probably shouldn't have done that.
All right, Anthony. So let me ask you this: is there a way that, knowing what you know now and having gone through that experience and knowing as you're in it what kind of creature comes out, is there a way that next weekend or the weekend after that could be addressed so you're not put in that situation?
For that size of an event, 25 teams, I think they could have maybe more centralized the steak selection and held everybody in their tents and gave us some walking time to go and pick our steaks and then head back to our tent, 1 in, 1 out type scenario. Other than that, I think it was run well. I think that's the only change that I could see that would definitely benefit currently.
Rusty, thoughts on change?
I agree. Start a little bit earlier. Let people walk up. And they have the PA system. You can call, number 9, number 8, whatever you need to do. Have them walk up, because that was the very first time we all, everyone gets there. They start setting up, and that's the first time we got to mingle together. And that's where all the instincts start kicking in. So I agree with Anthony. I think, if we were to call each other up and you individually walk up and give everyone an hour, still 30 seconds to pick your steak, but give another, just open that up a little earlier so you have time to go through everyone and give everyone a chance to walk up. I think that's a great idea.
All right, well, we're talking with Anthony and Rusty from the Pitmasters Podcast, recapping their steak cook-off experience this past weekend in is it Lehigh, Utah, by the way?
Lehigh.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yep, that's right.
So knowing what we know and assuming everybody's taking your suggestions, of course, because why wouldn't they? Because we're the most important people in live fire cooking right now here on this Tuesday. You feel totally confident, like if there was another contest next weekend or in 2 weeks, you would roll out and do it under the same conditions?
I
definitely would do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Mm-hmm.
As we come to a close here, guys, I was just talking with Meathead, as you probably caught the tail end of that. And Wednesday this past week, I had announced exclusively with Emily Park from the American Royal the 9 semifinalists that make up this year's short list. 3 of those will make it into the 2020 Barbecue Hall of Fame. Anthony, let me start with you. Give me your 3 who go in if you were a voting member.
Man, I am the worst with names, but Leanne Whippen, I think she has laid the foundation for women in the barbecue world. Rest, you're gonna have to help me with names. The producer of the
John Marcus.
Pitmasters.
John
Marcus. Yes. He opened the door for my generation of barbecue for sure. And then we got the Blues Hogs guy. How can you not use that?
Bill Arnold.
Bill Arnold.
Bill Arnold. Yep. See,
I'm sorry, did
I'm
you
the
say
worst
you
with the
had a
names,
barbecue
honestly.
podcast? I'm forgetting about it. Dude. Okay.
No. Yes. I earned that because I am terrible with names. I'll forget Rusty's name if I don't have it on his name tag on his name. Hi, my name is Rusty.
All right, so Anthony has Leanne and John Marcus and Bill Arnold for his 2020 class. Rusty, who's making it in your estimation?
You know, Leanne's great. She did pave the way for women. Darren is probably one of the best cooks and the nicest guys you ever want to talk to in your whole life. You know, I don't know Desiree Robinson. It's probably the only one on the list I couldn't tell you about. But if it was me as a poker player and back in the day when Rounders came out that really changed the game, and everything blew up, you know, there wouldn't be poker on ESPN. Well, there always was, but you know what I'm saying, if it wasn't for that show. So John Marcus for me is a shoo-in, I think, just because of what he's done for the sport of competition barbecue. Bill Arnold, of course, man, everyone says on here, you know, everyone's trying to copy his rubs, his seasonings, and mostly his sauces.
Yeah.
His sauces are the best thing ever. And Aaron Franklin kind of, I don't know. I think he changed the game in a way that John Marcus did. He exposed Texas barbecue to the world. You know, no one would be doing what he, you know, and he in such a way, and techniques and the way that he's opened himself up to teach people about it, I think is game changing as well. And man, I'd say a close fourth. I have to agree with Meathead and say Meathead fourth because he's also pioneering stuff. You know, he's able to take all of that mess and say, hey, it's not all crazy. Let's dumb it down. So I know I went a little more. I would put that probably saying John Marcus, Bill Arnold, Aaron Franklin, Meathead in that order. And I know there's
John
only
Marcus,
three, but I think
okay, it got really convoluted there towards the end, Rusty. So who are the three that are going in? I apologize.
Okay. The three are going to be John Marcus, Bill Arnold, and Aaron Franklin.
And Aaron Franklin. Okay, there you go.
Oh, nice. He's very progressive.
All right. Guys, you're
like
dropping new episodes each week, correct?
Every Thursday, yeah. We had John Lindsay on from All Queued Up, who is my steak hero. So I was really excited about that one. So that's coming out this Thursday.
Anthony, what's the hardest part about doing a podcast? The hardest part to doing a podcast is probably getting it out there. It's Rusty and I, we can bullshit all day long about barbecue and remembering people's names, obviously. But getting it out there is definitely one of the most difficult things I've noticed with the podcast.
Rusty, what's the worst barbecue podcast out there right now?
The worst?
The worst.
That's on the spot. You know, I expected this,
but
I didn't expect that.
Remember, we're courageous here on the show. Daniel Vaughn will corroborate
courageous.
that in a second. What's the worst one out there right now?
You know, and I listen to a lot.
Yeah.
Gosh, there was one that I just turned off, and I can't remember what it was. I listened to it one time, and I'm big on quality of sound. So if it comes in, it sounded like someone was talking on their phone. I really can't remember the name. Oh, man. I'm going to have to find it, but I'm not going to waste time Googling it.
All right.
Anyway,
well, that's a way to pull out.
I enjoy them all because
good job.
I am. You know, I'm a big fan of barbecue, and I'll listen to anyone talk about anything. You want to talk to your neighbor about barbecue, I'm going to listen. So if I couldn't choose, dude.
All right, Anthony, your favorite barbecue podcast?
Well, obviously the Barbecue Central show.
This guy.
After the Pitmasters
Sorry,
podcast.
Rusty. I like Anthony. He's my favorite now. I can't, no doubt.
Hey, he got the inside track on that one.
Yeah, that's right. So here's what you need to know. If you like guys that like talking about live fire, after you subscribe to my show, go and subscribe to the Pitmasters Podcast. As Rusty said, look, audio is important, especially since the majority of you folks are just listening in on it wherever it is you're taking us. So these guys, and I can vouch because I do listen to them each week, the sound quality is there. They put in the work, they ask the right questions, and they're getting big-name guests. So if you haven't gone back and listened to their catalog yet, they have Chris Lillies and Tuffy Stones and all the big names, aside from some of the other names that they have there, mixing them in as well. And it's once a week. Guys, really appreciate you coming on the show tonight and recapping that SCA event, and maybe we can make this a regular thing.
Yep.
I would
for
love
having
that,
us.
man. And we need to get you on the show too.
Yeah.
So that would be super cool.
Yep.
Talk about podcasting. Greg, what do you think?
All right. Yeah, I think I have a thought or two on that, no doubt. All right, guys. Appreciate it.
All right.
There they are.
Thank you.
The gents from the Pitmasters Podcast. And you can subscribe to them right there on all of your podcast platforms, if you will. So am I going to make this? I doubt it. I'm going to try, though. Hold on.
Continuing to produce
not
incredibly
gonna make it.
mediocre content in an exceptionally professional way. You're listening and watching the Barbecue Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rampey.
All right, welcome back. This portion of the show being brought to you by Fireboard. Monitor up to 6 different temperatures simultaneously. Connect to Wi-Fi for cloud-based monitoring, or connect via Bluetooth. If you have Alexa or the Google Assistant in your home, you're in luck because Fireboard fully integrated with both. Find out more by visiting fireboard.com or call 816-945-2232.
Hi, this is Jeff Richards, Columbus, Ohio. You're listening to Barbecue Central.
All right, we are lining up for the second hour. Thanks again to Anthony and Rusty from the from the Pitmasters Podcast. Also, Meathead in the first hour. As we point to the second hour, refresh your libations, and we'll be back in 2 minutes. Stick around.
Happy to have you aboard here for the really big barbecue show.
Boing. We cook because we have to, and we grill because we want to. Hit me.
Fine, how you doing?
You have a great show. I'm a big fan.
Boing.
So what seems to be the problem here? This man looks like he's dead, and he's in the crackle.
Charbono. It's all about the charbono, dude.
Succulent fish. What?
He ate sushi or wieners.
But listen, Lavernius, shut your face.
I'm shaking like a dog shit peach seeds.
We have top men working on it right now. Top men.
All right, just like that, we are into the second hour. Welcome to the Barbecue Central Show. Here we are, talking about live fire stuff. We do it on Tuesdays live from 9 to 11. You can get it in podcast fashion starting on Wednesdays, hour number 1, and then hour number 2 on Thursday. Still to come on this show, what I'm calling the Hall of Fame Roundtable. Daniel Vaughn from Texas Monthly Barbecue, Adrian Miller, the Soul Food Scholar, and Ray Lampe, Dr. Barbecue, will be in to discuss at length and detail the semifinalists for this year's Barbecue Hall of Fame, the class of 2020. There are 9 folks that are on that list, and 3 of them will make up the class. We will have an exclusive show coming up on the 27th of May. That's a Wednesday. We will have it at 3 p.m. Eastern like we did this past Wednesday. And once again, we will announce live.
We'll do it live. Okay.
The Barbecue Hall of Fame class at that point. Very exciting. Emily Park will be back with me. Don't forget, you can follow me socially at BBQ Central Show on Instagram and Twitter and Snapchat and TikTok. /BBQ Central Show on Facebook, where you can also find a video feed of this show as well. Coming up on the best moments of the Barbecue Central Show in 10 minutes or less this Friday. Believe it or not, we're going into 124 episodes. Holy moly. Rapidly becoming the 3rd or 4th longest running live fire podcast that covers solely this show. Nothing else. It's one of the longest running shows in the space about this show. That's weird to say. It's really the truth. It's weird to say. We're taking you back to May 14th of 2013, so almost 7 years to the day. And do you love burgers? Hamburgers? Yes, of course you love hamburgers. In fact, we had hamburgers for dinner tonight, believe it or not. In the Best Moments show, I visited with Andy Husbands, who I personally have a man crush with. He was just on the show, right before all of this disease landed on us. We were talking about his latest book. This is back in 2013. It was called Wicked Good Burgers. Maybe some of you or most of you have this book. Fabulous book, hugely successful commercially. He co-wrote that with his pal Chris Hart, who happens to be the pitmaster of a little barbecue team called IQ. I'll say legendary pitmaster. It's still widely considered to be one of the best burger cookbooks that are out there. And the content has stayed incredibly relevant to this day because, well, it's burgers. Hard to beat a well-executed burger. In fact, I would make the argument that the simpler the burger, and take into account method and seasoning and toppings and all of that other stuff, the simpler the burger, the better the burger is. Not always the case with other dishes, but definitely true in burgers' case. You can get crazily obnoxious with burgers, putting all these toppings and making all these extravagant blends. Now, certainly there have been proven blend winners, but sometimes people just go nuts. But few things in life are as satisfying as a good burger. In fact, I will drive for a good burger. I won't drive for a lot of things. You know what? I won't drive for most things. We know that. I will drive for a good burger. I love burgers. There's a place on West. Who goes west? East 200th Street, right here in East Cleveland. It's called Stevenson's. It used to be only 5 minutes from here on Lakeshore, but like one day the whole place was gone. There's a whole thing I don't even want to get into. But they bought a different bar up the road on 200th Street, right by the highway. This place has the best freaking flat top hamburger. I defy anybody to show me and have me taste a better burger than the one at Stevenson's. And by the way, very affordable, not crazy. And I've had burgers everywhere. I went to Chicago and had a day of burger eating. Now, some of the best burgers I've ever had there as well. The burger at Au Cheval was almost life-changing. I had a burger at the Billy Goat, which is where cheeseburger came from. I had a burger there. I had to have a burger. How could you be? I was walking past there for 3 days. And I'm like, how can I walk past here one more time and not eat one of these freaking cheeseburgers? It would be sacrilege. I couldn't possibly have. I left Chicago not eating in a number of places. No Italian beef sandwiches, none of that. Didn't get one. No deep dish pizzas. Get that big stuff out of here. But I was not going to walk by the Billy Goat one more time and be able to live with myself. So I just rolled right in, walked down the stairs, and had a cheeseburger. What do you want? What does anybody else get here? It's a cheeseburger. And Coke, no Pepsi. Or Pepsi, no Coke, or whatever the line is off the Saturday Night Live. Smokin' Joe's Barbecue Pit weighing in the instant chat. White Castle is not a burger. Who said I ever ate a White Castle burger? Get that big stuff out of here. Austin Carr has never been so right at the end of that drop. Get that weak stuff out of here. Just because Joey Chestnut can plow 748,000 Crystal burgers in 10 minutes, which are a White Castle equivalent, that's not my kind of burger. I'm not going to discriminate if you like White Castle burgers. Eat them all day long. They're gross. They're weird looking. They're steamed. If you like steamed meat, doesn't that sound bad? Steamed meat. The buns are steamed. The onions, I hate onions anyway. They're not nearly cooked enough. For me to even touch an onion, it has to be hard grilled or sauteed until it is dark brown, like sweet. If it even remotely resembles anything raw, if there's any texture to it, get it out. I don't want any part of it. Raw onion is the devil's candy, and so's pumpkin. Oh, it's the gross. God, I hate it. Let me get back to this whole Barbecue Hall of Fame thing, too, by the way. As Guy the Cooking Sam is Greg Get Off My Lawn guy. Get ready to get more off my lawn, Sam. I saw a lot of this going around on Thursday last week after we had the exclusive live,
We'll do it live.
announcement of the 9 semifinalists. Oh, how come X person isn't nominated? Oh, so-and-so should be on that list. Oh, no. That 9 is fine and all, but you left this person out. They really belong. Let me ask you a question. Well, first of all, let me make a statement. You must know. If you listen to this show, that unlike any other Hall of Fame, this Hall of Fame, the Barbecue Hall of Fame, actually goes to the general public and asks for ideas. That's ridiculous. No Hall of Fame should be asking. The general public is a dangerous public, if it's one thing I know. But they do. So don't post on my Facebook or on my Twitter or on any of that about how you don't like the 9. Hey, dumbass, did you nominate anybody? No? Shut up. Shut up. If you are being asked to put in a name, put in whoever the hell you want. You want Speedy from McDonald's? Vote for Speedy. Make a case. You have the option. You could put whoever you want. Oscar Mayer. Put him in. They're all talked about. That's the beauty. I mean, it's the worst thing and the best thing about asking the general public. They have to talk about it. They have to. So don't bitch and moan about the list that's been generated if you haven't participated in the nomination. Shut up. Now, if you didn't know, now you know for next year. I'm not yelling at you, but I'm yelling at all the rest of you people that knew that. I mean, that's so lame. Know the rules. All right. Soon we'll be picking up on the Barbecue Hall of Fame Roundtable. I'll talk to you quickly about the folks over at Big Papa Smokers, the one-stop online shop for all things barbecue, a curated selection of only the best outdoor cooking supplies. We'll get you on the path to better barbecue results in no time. Everything at Big Papa Smokers has been Pitmaster approved by Sterling Big Papa Ball himself. They have 13 perfectly balanced flavors of rub and seasonings like Sweet Money, Cattle Prod, Cash Cow, Regular Money, Double Secret Steak Rub, Desert Gold. I love Little Louis seasoned salt myself. Got a nice hint of black pepper. Now, they also have a sauce. They own Granny's Barbecue Sauce. So if you're looking for a great go-to sauce that's a little different than the rest out there, give Granny's a try. Can be used as a base sauce where you can tweak, or it's great all on its own. You don't have to tweak if you don't want to. Aside from the premium selection of rubs and sauces, they also offer the very best pellet, charcoal, and wood cookers available today. Are you looking for a versatile smoker that's easy to use? Check out the Mac 2-Star General Pellet Grill. Big Papa Smokers, the exclusive Mac dealer. They even offer special packages. Not a fan of pellet smokers? Try the Old Hickory Ace BP, the only charcoal smoker that Big Papa trusts on his competition trail. If you're not sure of what kind of smoker you need, you really can't go wrong with anything listed on the website. Give them a call and ask questions. 877-828-0727. That's 877-828-0727. or shop the website bigpopsmokers.com. That's BIGPOPPA smokers.com. We are back with the Hall of Fame Roundtable. Daniel Vaughn, Adrian Miller, and Dr. Barbecue Ray Lampe. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Monthly visits from a killer hog, a cooking guy, a man named Meathead, the author of Barbecue Bible, a grill girl, a bristly barbecue journalist, and the malfeasance of the barbecue world known as the embedded correspondents. Only found right here on the Barbecue Central Show.
All right, welcome back. This portion of the show being brought to you by Pit Barrel Cooker, the most unbelievable outdoor cooking device on the planet. Currently available in 2 different sizes with a host of accessories. Whether you're a beginner or professional, definitely a cooker you want to add to the arsenal. Visit pitbarrelcooker.com and tell them the Barbecue Central Show sent you right there in Louisville, Kentucky. All right, as you heard on the exclusive announcement here this past Wednesday on a live show.
We'll do it live. Okay.
The 9 semifinalists have been announced, and folks are eagerly giving their opinion on which 3 should be going in over the next handful of weeks to make up the class of 2020. Here to discuss the list and give thoughts on them are the initial, to give them thoughts on the final 9 and the initial big list of names. Quite a distinguished and accomplished panel I have accumulated here. Joining me, the soul food scholar, Adrian Miller, the first full-time barbecue journalist in the country, Daniel Vaughn, and of course, a guy who is already in the Barbecue Hall of Fame, Ray Lampe, Dr. Barbecue. All joining me here, so let me get everybody's audio up here, and I think that gets us all on. Guys, let me go ahead and, welcome you in, but closing out the first hour, I spoke with the hosts of the Pitmasters Podcast. All right, hold on one second here. I was just getting some feedback. No, now it's gone. Okay, sorry. Let me continue. No, there it is. Adrian, can you reconnect? I think I'm getting some feedback from you for some reason. Ooh. No, I can't get you at all. Can't even hear you. Oh dear. This is especially embarrassing because we had quite an extensive sound check yesterday, and everything, of course, was A-okay at that point. Let's go through and do another quick. Ray, you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, this guy's a professional right there. That's why he's in the Barbecue Hall of Fame, for Christ's sake. Daniel Vaughn, you're there?
I'm right here.
Daniel Vaughn is right there. Okay. Adrian, you up yet or no?
How about now?
No. Sounds like you're underwater and also in a tin can. So if you want to try calling in, we can do that as well. That would be, can you take down the hotline number? I don't know if you can hear me or not. Oh, he might be trying to reconnect. All right, guys, let me push through here before I blow my head off.
All right, so Greg, who's got your vote? Who would your top 3 be out of this list?
Dude, let's ease into this date. Let's not just jump right into bed, Daniel. I mean, holy crap.
I mean, come on, that's what it's all about, right?
Wow, I guess we know how you watch. All right. So closing out the first hour, I spoke with the hosts of the Pitmasters Podcast, Anthony Luhan and Rusty Monson, who both competed in an SCA event in their home state of Utah. Just your summary thoughts here. Are you guys surprised that there was a competition, and what are your thoughts on having that stuff start to potentially roll out across the country? Daniel, your thoughts on that?
Wow. Would I want to sit at a judge's table not quite knowing how that food was treated before it arrived to me? I don't know. I mean, I guess, these days the big argument here in Texas is now that we have a lot of our dining rooms opened up, are you willing to go eat inside a restaurant? Are you willing to go sit inside a dining room and get your food? And a lot of people are a little wary about that for health purposes. But the other part of that is, like, if we're okay getting takeout, that's still a lot of trust that you're putting in a kitchen. And I guess that's the same level of trust you'd have to be putting into to any food that shows up at a judge's table. Except the one problem is, if you're at a restaurant, you know who served it to you. If you're at a judge's table, not so much.
Ray, your thoughts on competition starting to roll out in some form at this point?
Well, I mean, it's like everything else. I had this conversation with my neighbor today. Everybody's got to do what they think is right now. I'm doing what I think is right, and everybody else needs to do the same thing. And God bless them. I hope we're all right. I hope nobody's wrong on these decisions. But I'm not going to judge anybody right now, and I hope they don't judge me.
Adrian, your thoughts on competitions rolling out?
Yeah, I guess as long as they can do it safely, I'm open to the idea. But like Ray, I'm a little skeptical. But if they can be safe, let's do it.
All right. We are here talking with, and by the way, we do have Adrian back up and running here, so that's great. We have Adrian Miller, Daniel Vaughn, Ray Lampe joining me here on the show. We're here to talk about the 9 semifinalists on the 2020 Barbecue Hall of Fame ballot. Before we start to break down the names and their significance to the live fire industry, I don't want to just assume that everybody knows who you guys are, as I gain new listeners all the time, and I just don't want to assume. We all love to think everybody knows us, of course. But can we take just a brief second, get a little background on each of you guys, how long you've been on the committee for the Barbecue Hall of Fame, and perhaps more importantly, what you feel you are bringing to that committee table in regards to knowledge, qualification, and all this stuff. So, Adrian, let's start with you.
All right, I'm Adrian Miller. I call myself the Soul Food Scholar. My tagline is dropping knowledge like hot biscuits. That's what I like to do. So I was born and raised in Denver, Colorado, which loses me all street cred on the subject of barbecue. But I've written a book on the history of soul food, Black Chefs in the White House, and now I'm writing a book on the history of African-American barbecue. Should be out in a year from now. And I've eaten barbecue joints all around the country. It's the tradition I grew up in. I've been on the committee this is about a year now. This is my second time going through the voting. And one of the things that I'm really interested in is just making sure that we have a diverse and inclusive Barbecue Hall of Fame that celebrates excellence as well.
Daniel Vaughn, your qualifications and quick background.
Wow, that's a big one right there. Well, I mean, this is an industry that I've studied since long before I even became barbecue editor. So as far as studying the names in the competition world, certainly more familiar with the restaurateur world, as well as the historical figures. So I feel like I'm well-rounded in I guess, knowledge of all those different industries. And really when it comes down to it, we're all in a big committee here, and I feel like I'm pretty good at arguing as well, and that's half the fun.
Ray Lampe, who are you?
I just showed up here. I mean, I'm pretty well known, I think, for my background in the barbecue competition world. But, along with that came a obsession with barbecue, which covers so many things. So I accidentally became a pretty well-schooled historian on my own. Like I said, people think of me as a competition guy, but I wrote a book called Barbecue Road Trip in 2004. And, so I've been studying this thing from all sides for a long time. And I'm the new guy on the committee, and it's quite an honor to be included with these guys. Like I said, I think of myself as a cook, but and I think of these guys as the guys who are writing and doing all the research and stuff, and it's kind of fun to be included with them.
Ray, do you think it is important for, if it wasn't you, if it was somebody of your ilk to be in this committee, so it's not just a bunch of guys that are well-versed on the history and the culture, but somebody who has also been on the cooking portion? Not saying these guys don't cook, but, from a competition side, and who are seeing it from a different perspective.
Well, I think I'll let the other guys comment on it, but I think there were people on the list that I was more familiar with than the other panelists, just because I've lived in that world maybe. And the more of us, Adrian said diversity, and I'm a huge proponent of that. I've been a little bit involved with the Barbecue Hall of Fame since its inception. Mike Tucker and Ray Basso were good friends of mine when they started it, and I've always felt diversity was going to make it viable. And I mean, black people, white people, fat ones, skinny ones, Texans and Carolinians, and men and women, and you name it. I mean, every single possible angle of diversity needed to happen, and I think we've done a pretty good job. So hopefully I bring a little bit of that to the table too.
Daniel, do you
be the fat white guy, so I'm not very good in many diverse classes, but I sure do like a lot of diverse folks.
Daniel, do you think it's good to have somebody of Ray's standing on that committee to bring his point of view?
Well, I mean, absolutely. I was going to stop you before and say it sounds like you're saying Ray's not cultured, which I'd have to argue with. No, it was actually really refreshing to have Ray's input. We've got lots of folks here on the list who are from the restaurant side, which I am well versed in, but a lot of folks from the competition side that maybe I wasn't as well versed in. I mean, I'll say right now that Bill Arnold wouldn't be on the list without Ray's input, really filling us in on his importance. It's not somebody who is incredibly well known from stacking up all the wins and grand championships in competitions like Tuffy Stone, who's already in the Hall of Fame, and Darren Warth, who's on the list here. It was somebody who had a real contribution to competition barbecue that maybe isn't as obvious as putting big trophies up there. And really, I think without Ray's input, I think none of us would have been as well educated on really what he brought to the game.
Adrian, your thoughts on having a guy like Ray on the panel this time around?
Yeah, I'm just going to echo Daniel because I didn't know a lot about the competition finalists or the nominations. So Ray was very helpful in kind of sorting that out. So I'm glad to have him in the mix.
All right, guys. So let's talk a little bit.
I want to say, hang on, Greg. I want to say something about that. I am happy to carry the torch for the competition guys, and I asked at the beginning of the meeting if that was my position there. But I can tell you, and I hope these guys will back me up. I question the competition guys too. When we talk about diversity, I also want to see a diverse career for these Hall of Fame guys, and just winning a bunch of trophies doesn't cut it for me. It's going to be an important part, but you got to do some other stuff too.
All right, so let's talk about the Hall of Fame here just for a second and its history for a bit. And you might find it hard to believe, guys, but there are some folks out there who have no idea that there was a Barbecue Hall of Fame, that it even existed. Can't believe it. Even if there's no physical place, they didn't even know that there was a Barbecue Hall of Fame. So, Ray, you alluded to it a couple minutes ago, and you probably know more about the history of the Barbecue Hall of Fame prior to the American Royal getting its hands on it. So, best to your recollection, how was it born, and how and who were the folks that originally installed this?
Yeah, well, Ray Basso, who had the original BBQ forum, starts in, I think, 95. And back in the day, there was nowhere else to hang out. We didn't have Facebook and all that. And so a lot of barbecue guys were made friends there. And Mike Tucker from Hog Eyes Barbecue up in right outside of Des Moines, Ankeny, Iowa. Mike was always a big proponent. Mike would always fund these crazy projects. So they bought whatever that website that they use is, and they started the Barbecue Hall of Fame online. And those are now known as the legacy candidates or the legacy members. When they sold it, or there was a transaction that they gave it to the American Royal, and the intention was to take it to the next level. I don't know why the American Royal always considers those members different than everybody else, but they do, and that's what that's all about. But it's been a good thing. We started way too late, man. This thing needed to start 50 years ago, and I think we're getting there. But when you look at that list, there's just so many people that do belong in the Barbecue Hall of Fame, and it's going to take a while to get caught up. That's what I think. We just started way too late.
Adrian, we have been we've seen some of the biggest evolutions of the hall since it has transitioned from the online entity that Ray was talking about to the American Royal taking over. What do you think some of the biggest changes that you've seen over that time frame are?
So, just getting it started and rolling has been good. I do quibble, though, about the diversity. I don't think we have enough, especially African Americans, represented in the Barbecue Hall of Fame, which is one reason why I got involved. But I think that it's starting to show a nice spread of diverse styles and different genres within barbecue. So I think that's good. But like Ray said, we have a lot of work to do still. But I want to see more people of color in the Barbecue Hall of Fame and more women, just have that represented.
Daniel, given the items that have taken place over the past few years, last 2 years especially, given the willingness to show transparency by the American Royal, putting names to committee members, letting the public see the semifinalists and so on, what, in your opinion, could still be improved as you look ahead into the next, 2, 3, 4 years of classes?
Well, I mean, one of the main things that could be improved is just the number of nominations that we get in. And so the reactions that you see from people immediately after these semifinalist lists come out. Well, what about this person? What about that person? Unless we have that name in front of us to look at during that nomination process, they're not going to be considered. And if you don't turn in a nomination of someone who you really believes belongs in the Hall of Fame, then how are we going to talk about them? How are they going to ever make it in there? So a little bit more of a sort of put up or shut up needs to happen from some of the naysayers. One of the things, though, that I think could really be improved is, and we've talked about it really bluntly in the nomination committee, is we've certainly seen better representation from a racial standpoint in the Hall of Fame, but the Barbecue Hall of Fame is still looking for that one African American who's still alive to accept their spot in the Hall of Fame. And so that's something that it's a possibility of changing this year. But so there's still some improvement. I think also just being able to, if we could look further back in history and really start rewarding some people who had a really big impact on barbecue just these days, because maybe their contributions were long ago. Their names just aren't going to be really all that well known today. Finding ways to get them in the Hall of Fame.
Adrian, go ahead.
Yeah, just what Daniel said. I was going to say we've created this legacy category to just really take a look at those giants in barbecue who just aren't well known today. But in their time, they were legends.
All right, so let me ask a racially weird question here, and I'm glad I have Adrian here to ask it, because you other two guys probably wouldn't be able to answer the right way. There is talk of diversity, and, I get it, but so is there a line, or are there eggshells being walked around to where there is either a need to feel like you need to nominate a certain number of African Americans or women, or is that not brought up? Or, I want diversity like the next guy, but how is that done appropriately when you have such a vast array of names that you can really not account for because of how racially unjust the country was hundreds of years ago?
Right. So I don't think we go into it with a specific number in mind, but we're trying to just step back as we look at the nominations and try to find balance as we go through. And then the other thing that I think is important, we all want to have an inclusive Hall of Fame, but we also want people who represent excellence in barbecue. So we may have diverse nominations, but, we frankly talk about, well, what has been this person's contributions to barbecue? Fortunately, there are a number of people of color and women who meet that threshold. But yeah, we're looking for inclusivity, but also excellence in barbecue. So I think part of it is a balancing measure. The legacy category is going to help in that sense, because the committee is really working on that. So I think it's a lot of moving parts. Again, there's a whole lot of people who could be in the Hall of Fame, and we have a limited number of spots. So it's going to take some time, but I think we're going to make some serious strides in the next few years.
Go ahead, Ray.
As the new guy, I want to tell you my experience with this meeting that we did a couple weeks ago. And it was really, for one, I'll tell you that it was way more serious and way better than I somehow expected because of the lack of transparency in the past. We all had our questions. But one of the things I really felt about it was the whole group felt like we were shepherding the Barbecue Hall of Fame in its young life right now. So instead of saying, well, we need one black person and one girl and a guy from Alabama and a guy from Carolina, it was more about understanding that diversity in our list was going to make everything better. You know, I was disappointed last year when I wasn't part of it, but it was 3 old restaurateur guys, 2 of them that had passed already, and one that was too frail to make the trip. Well, that was not diversity at all. I mean, those are the ones we happened to vote for, but I think I took it as the whole group was really more interested in shepherding the whole project instead of saying we need one of these and one of these, and that made me feel really good about the whole thing.
Dan, do you have anything to add here before I go to break?
Well, I must admit that I'm not able to hear the responses of the other folks on the call, so I hope I'm not repeating anything. But one of the things we're also looking for, not just with diversity for males and females, and and racial diversity as well. We're looking at diversity across just different types of contributions. And so, we're, as you've noted before, the nomination committee is made up of lots of writers and authors. So we certainly don't want it to be just a whole list of writers and authors who are up for the nominations. But we also know that people who are on television and people who are restaurateurs are going to be more well-known to the general public. So we feel like it's just as important to make sure that we have maybe lesser known names, including people who are certainly big in the competition world, who might not have as big a profiles because they haven't had a television show or a book or whatnot, but still have really important contributions to the barbecue community. So diversity takes many different shapes here.
All right, stand by, guys, here as I do a quick bit of business, and we'll come back and actually talk about the short list of 9 here. We're talking with Daniel Vaughn, Adrian Miller, and Dr. Barbecue Ray Lampe. Let me talk to you quickly about Southside Market and Barbecue. Established in 1882, Southside Market Barbecue is the oldest barbecue joint in Texas. They've been owned and operated by the same family for 3 generations. Offering premium Central Texas barbecue products, slow smoked over real wood, shipping, distributing, and manufacturing sausages for companies across the U.S., from food trucks to multi-chain restaurants. Southside Sausage can be on your menu, too. All meats are processed in the on-site USDA-inspected facility, a trusted partner with a focus on quality and authenticity. Wholesale options are available, shipping nationwide via FedEx. Food service distribution channels like Sysco, U.S. Foods, and Martin Foods. They're co-packaging capable from research and development to package completion. They can also follow your recipe or help you develop something brand new. Private label opportunities also available. Visit SouthsideMarket.com for more information. And here's the best part. When you're at SouthsideMarket.com, when you're loading up the cart with a whole bunch of good stuff and you want 10% off your order, just enter promo code BBQ Central at checkout. That's BBQ CENTRAL, all one word, and lowercase, BBQ Central for 10% off at SouthsideMarket.com. We're back to talk about the 9 semifinalists with Adrian Miller, Ray Lampe, and Daniel Vaughn right after this. Stick around.
Celebrating over 10 years of prolific and unparalleled live fire barbecue and grilling talk. And yes, it's still being done from Cleveland, Ohio. You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show.
Hey, this portion of the show being brought to you by Smithfield. If you can find it throughout the grilling season, you can get recipes from Chris Lilly, Darren Worth, Ernest Cervantes, and Childs Cridlin with mouth-watering flavor and no artificial ingredients. Smithfield fresh pork, quite simply some of the finest pork money can buy. It's the trusted choice of World Championship Pitmasters for use at competitions and at home. Smithfield.com. All right, guys, thanks for hanging with me through the break here, and let's go ahead and talk about these 9 semifinalists. We'll just start in no particular order, by the way. I'll give the names, and we'll just go around the panel, and you guys can tell me, a little bit about what you feel about that person, and perhaps why they are inclusive here into the 9 semifinalists named. First one that I have is Oklahoma Joe Davidson. Daniel Vaughn, tell us about Oklahoma Joe and why he's on the list.
Just his contributions in many different fields, and his early contributions to the backyard barbecue pit making, and turning his backyard barbecue pit business into something that was really going to start lots of backyard pitmasters, sometimes careers, competition careers, restaurant careers, and then also his own successful restaurant career in opening up Oklahoma Joe's, first in Stillwater, Oklahoma, and then later on in Kansas City, in what is now Kansas City Joe's Kansas City Barbecue. So for him, it was really about the fact that he's had big contributions in a couple different areas.
Ray, your thoughts on Oklahoma Joe?
Yeah, when I first started KCBS cooking in the early 90s, Joe was already there, and he was a rock star. He was the original rock star. He was selling barbecue pits all over the world and bringing the money to the cook-off, and brought a double-decker trailer and partying and bringing everybody along. He's a charming guy, and I mean, he's Oklahoma Joe. That name, everybody knows that name. Most folks don't know there's actually a guy. Joe was a big deal back in the day, and he's still at it. Joe is still doing team building stuff for Oracle, and I mean, he's done everything there is to do in the barbecue world.
Adrian, your thoughts on Joe?
Yeah, a great restaurateur. That's how I connect with him. And he's one of the few restaurateurs that people who aren't deep into barbecue have heard about his place. They may not know the name right away, but when they think about the Kansas City place, they're like, yeah, what's that place with the gas station and barbecue? That kind of thing. So I think it just shows his resonance across the country, and that people connect to him.
All right, Adrian, let's stay with you for the next guy on the list. That's Bill Arnold.
Now, this is one person I did not know about, so I'm going to have to defer to my colleagues here.
All right, Ray, I know you know Bill, so go ahead and spill it.
Yeah, I know Bill well, and I was pretty passionate telling some of the guys that didn't know that much about Bill how much Blues Hog Barbecue changed the competition world. I mean, it more than any other product, certainly a taste product, it changed everything, and frankly moved then to retail, and is a very successful retail product too, along with Bill just being a really interesting guy. But to me, what Bill's contribution is very much focused on the taste of Blues Hog and how it changed everything.
Daniel, your thoughts on Bill Arnold?
Yeah, I mean, Ray just made a great case about the fact of just how influential that barbecue sauce was in the competition world, and how it not only changed, the fact that so many competition barbecue pitmasters were using that sauce, but also how many sauces have come after it that have really copied from that style and tried to somehow mimic what he was doing.
All right, next one on the list, Daniel, we'll stay with you since we ended with you. Somebody that you're fairly familiar with, a guy by the name of Aaron Franklin, by the way, is one of 3 back-to-back semifinalists that we'll talk about here on this list.
Yeah, I mean, just quite simply, I don't think there's another pitmaster restaurateur who has been more influential in barbecue in the world than Aaron Franklin.
Period.
That's it. Yeah. I mean, there's you travel the world, eat at barbecue joints who are trying to mimic American barbecue. And how'd you learn how to cook barbecue? Well, I got Aaron Franklin's book, or I watched Aaron Franklin's YouTube show, or I watched Aaron Franklin's television show, or, Aaron Franklin. That is, so many people use him as their inspiration, use the information that he puts out there as the tools that they use to cook with. I mean, so many of these restaurateurs, the only other way they would have been able to learn this is to come, say 20 years ago, they would have had to come work as an apprentice for someone. And now they can learn so much of it from all the information that Aaron Franklin puts out there. And, they can try and do it as well as he does. So it's kind of hard to match that quality. But, just the influence he's had, the incredible books that he's put out, and just the incredible popularity of his barbecue joint. I mean, there's just to me, I don't know if there's anybody on this list that's more deserving than him, especially if you consider sort of what the world of barbecue is looking towards as an example of how to cook.
Adrian, your thoughts on Aaron?
Wow, that's pretty much a mic drop moment by Daniel, but yeah, he's one of the most recognized figures in barbecue. And, the other thing that I loved about him is often there's secrecy in the world of barbecue, and the fact that he's been so willing to share his knowledge, I think, is just a testament to what he's created. So, yeah, just very deserving.
All right, Ray, what do you think?
Yeah, no brainer. I mean, Aaron was the right guy in the right place at the right time, and he's taken full advantage of it and knocked it out of the park, done everything right. I mean, everybody loves him. He does all the sharing. But let's think about the actual, what's on the table. This guy's written killer books that have sold through the roof. He's got the most popular barbecue restaurant in the world. He does videos that everybody watches. I mean, what more can he do? He goes around the world to food and wine events, and he's the most famous guy in the place. No brainer.
All right, Daniel, let me ask you a question in regards to this Aaron Franklin guy. Does he have any idea that there's even a Barbecue Hall of Fame?
Yeah, he knows there's a Barbecue Hall of Fame, but I can guarantee you he's not going to be out campaigning to try and get any votes to get into the Hall of Fame. It's just not his style.
I don't like to share personal text messages, but I shot him a quick note on Wednesday. I said, "Hey, you made the list again." And I quote his response, "Hey, that's neato." Classic. So, all right. So next up on the list is Desiree Robinson. Daniel, what can you tell us about Desiree?
I mean, just the embodiment of Memphis-style barbecue, and has shown just incredible longevity in doing it. And just any restaurateur who's able to stay around that long and help define the barbecue style of a city and of a very well-known barbecue style and being a Memphis style deserves consideration.
Adrian, your thoughts on Desiree?
Yeah, just a wonderful figure in barbecue. She has told me that a lot of people who come to town from Memphis in May will stop by her restaurant and say, "Hey, this is the best barbecue I've had all weekend. Why don't you compete?" And she really doesn't feel like she has anything to prove. The interesting thing is that she and her her husband, who's died, she's a widow, lived in Denver for a time, and they actually ran a barbecue joint in Denver before going to Memphis because they said they couldn't find any good barbecue in Denver. So that hurt me. But the food is great. The Cornish hens, the barbecue spaghetti and bologna. She's just, I think, an important figure in especially barbecue and also African-American barbecue, which has this strong tradition of women carrying a restaurant through when their spouse, who maybe started the restaurant or co-founded it with them, dies. So, and you see that a lot across the country. So I think Desiree Robinson is the epitome of that.
Ray, Desiree?
Oh, I'm a huge fan. I first met her when I was writing that road trip book in the early 2000s, and she was, at the time, she was full on running the place. But if you ever have the chance back then, if you sat with Miss Desiree at the restaurant for a little while, her daughter was there working. The grandkids would come by. Bobby, the big grandkid, and Sean, now they run the restaurant. The whole family was there, but she was the matriarch and she was in charge, and nobody was going to mess around. And those grandsons have all gone to college to get educations to know how to run the business of a barbecue restaurant. There's a lot more there than people even know, but on the surface is plenty for me. She's great.
All right, Ray, so let's stay with you and talk about John Marcus. He's on the list this year.
Yeah, I mean, John certainly has, much like Aaron, these guys changed the game. if John, all that whole legacy of Pitmasters shows, and I got a couple DVDs here from the early seasons. That all starts with John, and John was an executive producer till the end of the last show. Most of that would not have happened. Probably none of it would have happened without John. Again, it's kind of one-dimensional. John's become a pretty good cook, and he's helped a lot of us doing other things too. But that is one contribution, but it's a major one, man. It legitimized us all. All of a sudden, we weren't these goofy guys in the yard. We're still those goofy guys in the parking lot cooking barbecue, but we were on TV. And granted, it was an obscure station, especially in the early days, but it didn't matter. We wouldn't have had, because you notice what happened when John's show ended. Tell me where the new barbecue shows are.
That's right. Adrian, your thoughts on John?
Yeah, his like Ray said, his barbecue show, bent the barbecue universe to competition barbecue, and just really changed the game. And it was so influential beyond the world of even just television. So many people, I think, are interested and got into competition barbecue because of that show. And it created some stars. Myron Mixon. Yeah, Myron Mixon, and Tuffy Stone, and all these other names that maybe people didn't know outside the competition circuit. Now they know them. Mo Kason, just a number of figures.
Daniel, your thoughts on John Marcus?
Yeah, that show is just the one who started all those barbecue shows, and there might be too many of them these days. But the fact that nobody, I think, considered the fact that there could be a reality show based on competition barbecue until he did it. And then, just the influence he's had on backyard cooks too. Backyard cooks and those who are wanting to get into competition barbecue. How many backyard cooks do you think own, for better or worse, own something that you could put an injection into your brisket with before that show? Probably not too many.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. Next one on the list is Rodney Scott, and we'll go to Adrian Miller to kick it off.
Yeah, Rodney Scott, he's just on a meteoric rise in the world of barbecue. And what I love about him is he's doing whole hog barbecue from South Carolina, which is not something you see a lot around the country, but I think he's trying to work on changing that. But I've been to his family's place in Hemingway, South Carolina. Now I've been to his place in Charleston. And the guy's just doing great stuff. He's a great guy. I just think also, in addition to Aaron Franklin, he's won a James Beard Award for his barbecue. And they're the only two people who have done that. So I just think he's a very compelling figure in the world of barbecue. And can't wait to see what he does next.
Daniel, your thoughts on Rodney Scott?
Yeah, I think as far as the influence of Aaron Franklin has on brisket, Rodney Scott's got it on whole hog. He's doing it a little bit different way, not so much through through some of the same channels, as far as YouTube shows and whatnot. He's doing it, I guess, leading by example, just continuing to go around, opening up new spots, that are staying true to that whole hog cooking over wood, whether it's in South Carolina or now over in Alabama, soon to be Atlanta.
Ray, your thoughts on Rodney Scott?
I don't know Rodney, but I certainly know of him and know his story. And winning that Beard Award, that doesn't happen by accident. Clearly, you're doing some good stuff.
All right, Ray, let's say with you, Darren Worth is rounding out the last three here.
I'll tell you what I said to these guys when we were talking about Darren. I said, if Tuffy belongs in the Hall of Fame, Darren belongs in the Hall of Fame. Darren has just killed it in the barbecue world like nobody else. And he's also got a hugely successful couple of restaurants in Des Moines. And the other stuff, he doesn't choose to do much besides that. He's built this huge persona by sort of being a low-key guy. Darren has also become one of the most sponsored up guys, legitimate sponsors, not I got a banner and a free brisket. Darren's got legit sponsor money coming in his pocket, and he's done a lot of stuff. I think he's a clear, legit candidate.
Adrian, do you know much about Darren Worth here?
No, I learned a lot about him through the nomination process, picking up grand championships all over the place, but I just didn't know much about him. But he seems like he's just one of the most successful people on the competition circuit, and I guess as a restaurateur as well.
Daniel, do you have a lot of knowledge on Darren?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, first I'll just say that some of the only brisket that I really loved eating at the Jack Daniel's competition was the stuff that I ate off of Darren's smoker after I got done judging. So, I mean, you often hear how much different competition brisket is than restaurant brisket, but I really didn't enjoy his. But, I mean, just sort of what Ray said, if Tuffy's in, then certainly Darren's got to be in there. I mean, the guy's just such a incredible heavy hitter when it comes to big time competition wins. And then the fact that he's got the restaurant going. I mean, if anybody if any of the naysayers out there about competition barbecue tell you that it's all just a crapshoot about whatever, it's just all about whatever judge's table your brisket or whatever tends to hit is what determines whether you're going to win or not. Just, I mean, look at the record of Tuffy Stone and Darren Warth, and that's going to tell you that it really does take some skill to be able to be a repeat winner like they are.
Daniel, let's stay with you and talk a little bit about Leanne Whippet.
Yeah, very similar to the fact that she's just incredibly well-rounded. Has had that great success in the competition world. Also has that television presence and her multiple success on the restaurant front too.
Adrian, your thoughts on Leanne?
About the same. I didn't know much about her until I saw her on Barbecue Pitmasters, but it just seems to be knocking it out of the park in so many different aspects of barbecue.
Ray? You know Leanne a lot.
Yeah, Leanne's a really good friend of mine. So I wasn't going to necessarily go to bat for her because it would be because she's my friend, but she had a lot of support from around the room, and that made me feel good for her. Certainly deserving. She's got a big career in restaurants, and she's won some competition. She didn't cook as much as some of us did over the years, but she's got some legit wins along the way. And heck, she just won that Bobby Flay show last year. And Leanne, when you walk down the street with Leanne at a barbecue event, Leanne is a rock star. People are pushing me out of the way to hang out with Leanne. She's obviously better looking than me.
Yeah, I was going to say, no offense, Ray, but I'd push you out of the way, too.
Oh, you think that's why? Okay, I thought it was just because she was so well known. She is. I mean, the Pitmaster thing, Leanne was the cute blonde, and everybody knows her and loves her. I mean, it's great. I'm glad to see it. And her nomination was passionately written by her daughter. That was pretty great.
All right, last but not least, and we'll go with Adrian to start here, Meathead from AmazingRibs.com.
Yeah, I kind of think of him like Aaron Franklin. What I said about Aaron is the one thing that's really cool about Meathead is he's put out so much barbecue content that has just, raised the game for a lot of people who want to become barbecue cooks. There's so much information out there now, and he talks about the science of it, goes into the history. So he's just made barbecue much more accessible to so many other people.
Ray, your thoughts on Meathead?
I'm not familiar with him. I'm kidding.
Oh, my God. I'm sure he just had a heart attack and keeled over in Chicago. Oh, my God.
Now, the thing about Meathead is I like people that do it their way. And Meathead hasn't copied anybody in what he's done. He's making it up as he's going along, and it's all him. And the amount of content is just astronomical. He's a hard-driving guy. He definitely is in a class by himself, and I think he belongs on the list.
Daniel, your thoughts on Meathead as we close it out here?
Yeah, I mean, I was with Ray there for a second. I didn't even know this guy. I didn't know he was on this list. No, but I mean, come on, AmazingRibs.com. I don't know if there can't be any other website out there that has taught more people how to cook in the backyard than Meathead. So I think just that alone and his contributions there is enough. But then, I mean, you add in the fact that he did that amazing book that takes a really just scientific look at cooking barbecue in all its forms. Really a great contribution to barbecue from the book and the website. And you put them together, and I mean, there just isn't anybody out there who's putting it all together like he is.
All right, so that is the 9 semifinalists. 3 of those will actually make it into the class of 2020. That'll be revealed exclusively here on this show Wednesday, the 27th at 3 p.m. Eastern. Before I let you guys go tonight, I'm going to go here. Daniel, we'll start with you. Give me the 3 that you would vote, hypothetically, to make it into the 2020 Barbecue Hall of Fame.
I think I asked you first.
Oh, I'm going to give you
Come
my
on now.
shot. Don't worry. I think I'm the only motherfucker that's going to be talking real here tonight in about a second. But you go ahead.
Man, if I had my votes, if I'm picking one from each group, I'd have to go with Darren, Meathead, and Aaron Franklin.
Wow. All right. Adrian, you willing to pony up a hypothetical?
Now, I'm not as brave as Daniel. I'm from the world of politics, so I'm just going to say we have a beautiful list, a lot of great people. It's tremendous, and, we'll see how it goes.
Hey, Daniel, you know what we are on this show?
What's that?
Courageous. You coined it. That's what you said, Daniel. You said we're courageous on this show. And, all right, so Adrian is not courageous on the show, but Ray is going to be courageous, I know, because he's already a Barbecue Hall of Famer, and they can't take that away from him. So, hypothetically, who would your three be?
Well, I actually vote, so I think it's wouldn't be appropriate for me to tell you who I voted for. But I can give you a little hint. I sort of like the guys that I look at some of these guys, and I'm like, they're going to have another chance, and so I kind of lean more towards the guys that this is their big shot, and girls. I can tell you. All right, I'll admit I'm voting for Desiree.
Hey, Daniel, what are we on this show?
We are courageous.
Motherfucking right.
I mean, you and I are.
Jesus.
So who's your three?
All right, here we go. My three, in no particular order, of course, Meathead is going in. And by the way, Ray, to your point, Meathead's 70 years old, so it's not like he's a spring chicken, has got maybe, 10 or 15 more years to just leg it out here. Meathead is a mold breaker. He is bringing barbecue and grilling to the masses. The likes nobody has ever seen. I understand he's using it via the internet, but he has capitalized on this, certainly bolstered by that best-selling book. He has also released any number of YouTube videos with some really hot co-host who I don't know what her name is, but congratulations for him even though he had to pay her. Who cares? She was hot. And then he has also turned that website into a huge business. I'm not sure how profitable it is per se, but I know he's generating, a pretty substantial amount of money depending on how you're looking at that. He has a team of people that he pays. He has this Pitmaster Club that he's turned into a revenue source. So he continues to be someone who at every turn is pivoting and trying to make sure that he is leading the way in this regard. So Meathead makes it easily in my book. Next up, no questions and no qualifications needed. Desiree Robinson is in. As all of you guys said, she is a staple of the Memphis style of barbecue. I think when you think Memphis style barbecue, aside from the high level of, dry or wet ribs, you immediately go to Cozy Corner and you go to Rendezvous for the places that are just iconic Memphis places. And Desiree is certainly more than deserving. She should be in. And rounding it out for me, top three, Darren Worth from Iowa Smoky D's. Look, the best competition barbecue cook ever. Let me say that again. Ever. Tuffy is in the Hall of Fame. Chris Lilly is in the Hall of Fame. Mike Mills is in the Hall of Fame. Melissa Cookston is in the Hall of Fame. Darren Worth should be in before any of those people. Period. He's won more than any of them. The only thing that Darren hasn't won is Memphis in May, and I guarantee that if coronavirus 2020 wouldn't have happened, he would have had it in those crosshairs and probably had a pretty good chance of taking Memphis down. He tried it once last year. It wasn't that great. But give him another shot, maybe 3 shots. I think there's a pretty good shot that he takes Memphis. And then if he takes Memphis in May, then, oh, my God, he will have won every big competition, not to mention all of the other general barbecue competitions that he's won. Plus, as Ray said, and everybody else has alluded to, he's been very successful in the barbecue restaurant business, has a number of those, does a tremendous amount of catering, hires a lot of people there in the Des Moines area. Oh, by the way, does anybody realize the thousands and thousands of dollars this guy has given away, prize money that he has given away to various pediatric foundations, through some of the affiliations that he has, through like Big Papa Smokers when he has competed at various barbecue. He has donated back his winning checks. I'm sure he probably hates the fact that I'm talking about this, but nobody else is going to say. he is not just a competition cook. And oh, by the way, too, if you go talk to him, and Daniel, Ray, I'm sure you can attest to this, this isn't a guy that plays it close to the vest. He'll sit there and tell you everything he does. So he's not writing a book because he doesn't want to write a book, but he will tell you everything if you want to ask him, and if you want to pay attention and ask the right questions. He's not sitting there holding anything to the vest. He'll tell you whatever you want. So this guy, to me, is if those other guys and gals are in the Barbecue Hall of Fame, then there's no reason that Darren Worth wouldn't be in 2 weeks' time. Those are my three. Thank you. Courageous.
I just want to know, are you courageous enough to then take those three and text that to your friend Aaron Franklin and let him know who your finalists are?
Yeah, of course. I mean, Dan, we can't be courageous and then only be courageous sometimes. We either live courageous or we're pussies. Come on, what are we talking about?
Well, that's neato.
Yeah, totally neato. All right, here's who I'm talking to, for crying out loud. I'm talking with Daniel Vaughn. You can find him posting great stuff over at tmbbq.com. I have Adrian Miller right here as well, the soul food scholar. And, of course, I have Barbecue Hall of Famer Ray Lampe, drbbq.com. Guys, really appreciate you hanging with me here through 2 full segments, breaking this whole thing down and giving your thoughts. And we'll see what happens in 2 weeks' time. Thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you. And I just want to say, Greg, real quick, that after that announcement happens, the nominations will reopen for next year. So if you feel like somebody got slighted this year, be sure to get that nomination in for next year.
That's right. All right, there they are. Ray Lampe, Adrian Miller, and Daniel Vaughn, all right there and all right here on this show. Doing it live.
We'll do it live. Okay. Well, do it live!
And going long. Wow. I don't know about you, but I think I made the most impassioned pleas of the night. I knew that some of those guys were going to weasel out. I mean, I don't want to hear about, well, I vote. Who cares? Tell me who you're voting for. Huge segment. Loved the segment. That was well worth it. And mostly I'm right. All the way back in the first hour, we talked with Meathead. We also talked about Meathead in the second hour quite a bit, but Meathead. And we also talked with Anthony Lejean and Rusty Monson, the Pitmasters Podcast, talking about their experience at this past weekend's SCA event in Lehi, Utah. Safety, congregating, 6 feet, social distancing, all that. And then the second hour, Daniel Vaughn, Ray Lampe, and Adrian Miller joined me as we broke down the 9 semifinalists for the 2020 Barbecue Hall of Fame.
From Melbourne, Ohio, and you're listening to Barbecue Central.